Is it better to speak or to die?
Neden ikinci el kitapları seviyorsun?
Yaşanmışlıkları yüzünden. Başkalarına ait izler bulmayı seviyorum. Notlar, telefon numaraları, sayfaların içinde unutulmuş bir iki şey. Onların hikayelerini, kimlere ait olduğunu düşünmeyi çok seviyorum. Yeni hayatlar yaratıyorum kafamda, düşlerimde.
Her şey değişiyor Ada.
So today I went to a vintage bookshop. I was on Facebook Marketplace looking for a vanity, which I'm still looking for by the way, and I come across this listing for a secondhand bookshop, and I said hello. I literally love one bookshops, but anything secondhand. And funny enough, my friend who I told it about had already gone there and she loves it, so we decided to go together. It's in Padstow, by the way, if you're wondering. If you're in Sydney and you want to support a cute local small business, it's adorable, so I definitely recommend going there. But I went there, obviously I don't need to buy any books, obviously, and I kind of do buy secondhand books often because I go to the op shops all the time and there's always a book section. There's so much, so much, especially if you're into like sci-fi or fiction novels. I feel like there were so many. Let me show you what I got. So first up, I grabbed The Handmaid's Tale. I've never read this. Obviously the show apparently is really good. It's not something I really want to read right now. It feels a little too close to home. It feels a little too dystopian and political, and I really just want to live in bliss for a little bit, so I'm probably not going to reach this for a while. But I really loved the cover of it, and I thought, why not get it now while I can see it here. Also, funny enough, right, before I continue this, I was saying how one of my favorite content creators, Melissa, which I'll link below, is like one of my favorites and I love her content. And then yesterday I'm watching her vlog and she went to a secondhand bookshop and I was like, stop, because I'm going to a secondhand bookshop the next day. So I watched it and I was like, perfect, now I get to see anything that she likes and I can like see if I can find the same thing. And I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, I'm pretty sure she picked up a Handmaid's Tale copy, so we're literally twins. I grabbed this. If you've read this, let me know. Also, I don't know anything about the author. I don't know if she's a crazy person, whatever. I grabbed this. Then I grabbed, this was actually inspired because of Melissa. And honestly, I just really want to read anything and everything while I'm locked in. And I really want to read books that I wouldn't have reached for before. And this is something I would not have reached for. This is The Moon is Down, John Steinbeck. I've never read anything he's done. No idea what this is about. The cover is perfect, which I'm not gonna lie to you is like one of the reasons why I bought it. But I also looked on Goodreads and I had really good reviews. So I grabbed this. And then lastly, I only grabbed 3 books. We were there for a long time, but honestly there was a lot of books and a lot of books that I think people have donated because they've read them in school and because of that they weren't really appealing, or just like problematic authors, so we kind of had to sift through. But I grabbed this. Firstly, the cover intrigued me because it just looked really great and the spine of the book was really interesting. And then I realized this is by the author of The Color Purple and I've never read it. So this is Alice Walker, The Third Life of Grange Copeland. Looks interesting. It's clearly a great author, so I thought, why not? So the back of this says that it tells a story through 3 generations of the family of a black tenant farmer in Georgia, where the author herself grew up. Grange Copeland is driven by racism, poverty, despair to desert his wife and son to go north. When he returns years later, Margaret is dead and their son Brownfield imprisoned for murder. Sounds interesting. 1992, I think. these are the 3 books that I grabbed, and I definitely want to go back, so I will be going back. But I did finish reading Sandcatcher. I posted on Instagram that I finished reading it, and Substack, and I will do a thorough TikTok, I think, and a reel unpacking all the books that I read this month, but also on Substack. I really want to dive into it because I wrote notes on all the books that I've read. I really did not enjoy Sandcatcher. The premise of the story was good because I think it kind of unpacks that there's nuance to being Palestinian, and I can mildly relate to that because I am Arab. I think that we as a community, but also people, forget that there's nuance to being Arab, and the way that we all are Arab and what it means to be, for me, Lebanese or for a Palestinian, looks very different, and we're all raised so differently, have different contexts. I think it does a great job at showing that Palestinians, maybe modern Palestinians, 21st century Palestinians, young Palestinians, I don't know, I'm not Palestinian, I can't say, I can't relate. I think it's trying to make unlikable characters, the type of narrative where it's like they don't focus on Palestine, they don't often discuss the liberation of Palestine, they don't often discuss their own history, they don't ask their family members questions, they don't really see it as a big deal. Maybe that's what he's trying to do by making these characters so unlikable, but I just found that to be so unlikely because every Palestinian that I've met, and even as an Arab being Lebanese, it's a core part of your identity because it should be, and it almost has to be. Not in a way where it's a burden or it's something you have to carry and you can't let go of, but in the sense that being Palestinian is so incredible and it's so empowering, and it's so it's like what a privilege it is to be Palestinian, to come from a community that is widely displaced and has gone through genocide and trauma, and yet is still so powerful and still so united. And I think that's so incredible. So him making these characters so unlikable and so distant from their culture, I just found to be so unbelievable. And like, for it to be written in 2020 as well, to read it now in the context that we're in and like knowing what's happening in Palestine, I just found it to be really icky, and I can't relate, and I don't think many people I know could relate to that story. I found that the male characters in this book are so awful, disgusting, putrid. Let me just say that. One of them, well, the author has this thing, I don't know if it's common in his writing, I haven't read any of his other work, but he has to, and I say has to, for each male character, give them some sort of dialogue that refers to their sexual desires, their sexual thoughts, sexual dreams, and I just found it to be very gross. He also managed to sexualize every single female character in the book. There's only 2 main female characters, and somehow managed to give both of them characters where the hijabi woman cops comments from a Muslim man that she works with, which is one of the main characters, about how he doesn't like the hijab and how he finds the hijab to be a facade, and he wants to know if she's a virgin, and he wants to know her secrets, and he makes comments to her constantly about sexual stuff, and then also makes a comment once in the book, which I'll never forget, about he's like angry with her, and then makes a comment about how he'll basically, I don't want to say it's a threat, but it almost is, about how he's going to put her in a compromising position and then take her hijab off her head. I found it to be a bit, the other female character in the book, she also doesn't like the hijab, and she's a Muslim as well, and an Arab woman. All of them are living in Jordan, by the way, Muslim country. And she doesn't like the hijab, and the author manages to describe what she's wearing and the sound of her high heels and the length of her skirt, and talks about how she cheats on her husband, which isn't even the red flag here because the guy in the book also cheats on his wife constantly, but she cheats on her husband and paints her in this light of her being this sexual being, and also talks about how one of the characters is obsessed with her to the point where if this was real life, it would be stalking. He saw her once and had fantasies about her and convinced himself that she's in love with him and he has to see her. Ew. I get the poetic contrast between the two. I can see how the hijabi, who is more conservative and has more boundaries with men, as she should, has more boundaries, contrasts well with the other female character who cheats on her husband, who doesn't see sex as taboo, and who doesn't wear the hijab and doesn't dress modestly. I can see from a man's perspective how that's like a poetic contrast, but as a Muslim woman myself, it does not make any sense, and it's so unlikely, and it's honestly just gross. And then pitting them against each other to fight physically almost just felt like he just wanted to imagine it, and it was like, I just didn't understand where it was going. The only thing I liked about this book, which made me give it 1 star, was the fact that I liked how the main core of the novel had the storyline of the grandfather and how he survived the Nakba. He didn't want to tell the journalists his story of the Nakba, which is the whole issue in the book of what length these journalists will go to as Palestinians themselves to sell this story and to monetize another Palestinian story. I found that to be interesting. I found it interesting that this old man felt like telling his story about the Nakba was them stealing it, just like they stole Palestine. And he associated them stealing Palestine with them stealing his story. And he didn't want to tell his story because he didn't want them to sell it out like they sold out Palestine. I found that to be interesting, and I liked that aspect. I think it gave a different perspective as a non-Palestinian person to look at how Palestinians ultimately are not only being robbed of their home and their culture, but also having to constantly tell their trauma and their stories and have them be monetized, or have them be, you know, the front pages of infographics or the front pages of magazines or whatever it is, how that would be emotionally tiring, exhausting, and you would feel like you have nothing left. So I liked that contrast because it kind of made me think that this old man, the only thing he has to himself and the only thing he has ownership of is his story, and he doesn't have anything else. So I liked that about the book. There's lots of other Palestinian authors who do a great job of giving nuance to what it is to be Palestinian. If you have any recommendations like that, leave them down below. I finished that. And then yesterday I went and bought Hot Milk by Deborah Levy because I love her writing style. I love how descriptive she is, and I love how poetic and otherworldly she is, and it just makes me feel like I'm learning something with every sentence. So I picked this up because apparently there's a movie coming out in May, and I thought, let me get ahead. But also Ramadan is soon, and I want to read one more non-religious book, and then for Ramadan I really want to lock in and read as much religious or educational books as I can. I'm currently on page 37. So far so good. And then I also picked up a cat calendar because turns out I had $20 left on my gift card for my birthday, right? Then I had $14 left on my Harry Hartog account, no idea why. So technically the book was free. So technically I haven't bought books, and technically these were free because they're vintage. These 3 were $18. So technically I haven't spent money. So technically I'm a genius. I'm gonna have an everything shower. I'm going to use my Lush Scrubby, feeling like I need it. And then I'm going to read this. And then I'm going to watch Severance. And then I'm going to watch White Lotus. And then I'm going to have peppermint tea.
But I don't want it. Okay? That's just sort of my fruit so sweet. Okay, episode start from side effects of consuming.
Hi friends. Today I am having a pretty chill day because it's 31 degrees outside, so I'm wearing like an abaya because it's like my go-to in summer. It's so easy. And then like this Vela jersey top, and then my gym pants because I don't want to wear jeans and I can't find my linen pants, and I don't want to wear a skirt, so that's what we're working with. But I'm gonna go today and just get through some of my book, maybe reply to some work stuff I have to do, maybe write down some Ramadan intentions
I really want to do that. I also might pop past an op shop and see if they have any cute decor for my vanity when I eventually get my imaginary vanity that doesn't exist. Because I need to start planning it, and I feel like I'm just waiting. Like, trying to find a vintage vanity on my Facebook marketplace feels like a hunting game. And I'm also like, maybe I should go, I know this one thrift store I'm going to has furniture occasionally, and I'm like, maybe they'll have furniture there. So that's the plan for today. It's really not in the mood to try to, you know, go out and do something extravagant. I was going to go for a walk and read at the park, but it's just way too hot, okay? Not bothered. I'll take you guys with me.
شكلك نسيت. في الجنة يموت الحزن وجراح القلب وسينتهي التفكير ويفنى الانتظار
وتتبدد حيرة الاختيار. في الجنة لن يمرض أب ولن تبكي أم ولن يغادر أخ، وفي الجنة يموت الحنين وفقد المحبين حتى الموت في الجنة سيموت.
One of the greatest tragedies in life is that you will always be loved more than you will ever know. Someone in your class finds your presence inviting and warm, even if you've only exchanged a few words with them, or maybe none at all. Someone on the street loves your smile, and it brightens their path for the next few blocks. Someone you used to be friends with still wishes to fondly call your name. Even someone you were friends with 5 years ago would give anything to be in the same room as you today. Someone who regularly comes into work is disappointed when you aren't there to brighten their day. Someone missed you today. Someone noticed when you were gone. Someone loves you when you're there. Someone loves you when you're nowhere to be found at all. You may think you have always disappeared when you're no longer in the picture, but you've never left the frame.
Today is Friday. Tomorrow is Ramadan, and I have processed it, but I don't know if I'm fully prepared. I'm very excited. Usually every Ramadan I try to read Quran before I go to bed, and I try to like reach a certain amount of pages by the end of Ramadan, and I feel like this year I'm probably gonna get the most, hopefully inshallah I get the most reading done, because I'm at a good place with reading and I feel like I can focus better. Also, something people I feel like don't talk about, especially when you're married, or I'm sure if you have kids it's the exact same thing, but like trying to cook every single day and trying to eat without fully like indulging and overeating can be hard, because when you're fasting you're obviously so hungry and everything looks delicious and you start to think of like all these ideas and like what to do. So this year I have the full intention of just cooking as normal, because it's only 2 of us, so it really doesn't make sense for me to be putting in so much work. I just want to be making simple, healthy, clean meals that don't make us feel gross, and then we can have a good sweet treat and then like see how we feel after that. But I'm really going to make sure that I'm not overcooking. Let me show you the books that I'm going to be reading this Ramadan. I'm probably going to be downloading a few as well, but these are the 2 books that I have on hand. I think I bought these last Ramadan and I never got around to reading them. The first one is The Muslim Mindset. I have no idea about these books, by the way, but it says in the back, we all desire richer, more meaningful and extraordinary lives, but what would it take to live this way? What would it take to live the life you were created for? The right mindset, the Muslim mindset, offers practical lessons and simple solutions to achieve a positive mindset and to soar beyond self-limiting beliefs and negativity. Sounds good. So I have this. I also have The Muslim Woman's Manifesto. I'm honestly not even sure what this is about. There's like nothing on the back, but it says 10 steps to achieving phenomenal success in both worlds. And then I obviously will be reading the Quran, and this is the one that I have, by the way, in case you're curious. This one I bought from Etsy a couple of years ago, and I really liked it because it's in Arabic and English, and I can't read Arabic, so I opted for this one, and it's very beautiful. Ooh, very sturdy. It's lasted me all this time. Those are what I'll be reading. I really wanted to finish this before Ramadan, but I've just been, I don't even know what I've been doing. I just got caught up and I'm only halfway. So I'm probably gonna have to either put this down and come back to it after Ramadan, which I don't want to do because I'll lose focus, or I'm gonna have to try to get through it tonight if I can, which I might do, to be honest, or just take the first couple of days and just read this also with those. I don't know, but I haven't got through this yet, but I do really like it. Yeah, tomorrow's Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak from me and Whimsy. And yeah, I'll take you guys with me tonight when we go to my mum's, and you can see all the delicious food she's prepped. She's put so much effort. And yeah, it's gonna be so yummy. Hopefully I can capture the vibes of how my Ramadan feels for you guys, and then during Ramadan I can upload some vlogs and hopefully you enjoy them.
Start down. Right.